Welcome, everyone. I am John Ryan. You are watching the NFL Predictive Playbook Show with my co-hosts from last year. All three of us are coming back together. We had so much fun last year. I believe we hit like 64% for the show last year. And we're both, all of us are doing pretty darn well. I do know that one of us has had a 13-0 against the spread record in Week-1 college football and NFL. And I'm going to leave it at that, just for the little bit of superstition of the betting gods hearing something they shouldn't hear. But Rocky, he was 70% for the season with his premium picks last year. He went 2-0. Okay, that's 2-0. That was pretty amazing stuff to get out of the gate after a tremendous season. It just shows how smart these guys are. They are a lot smarter than me. I pale in comparison, only hitting 65%. But truthfully, guys, you know this better than anyone. 58%. You hit 57 or 58% for an entire football season in the NFL. That is a major success. And I mention that because there's a lot of clowns out there that say they're hitting 77% for the last 100 years. And if you hear that, you should definitely run and not pay attention. You're much better off paying attention to Rocky and Don Buster, and even myself for the most part. Welcome to the show, guys. Rocky, how's it going over there at Predictive Playbook and your site, Winning Cappers?
Hey, going good, John. Like you said, nice NFL weekend for me, 2-0. So glad to get off to a good start there. I'm excited about what Buster did last week, though. That's incredible.
Well, Rocky, as Rocky, as they say, every once in a while you have those good weeks. I think I came on this show saying how I've had a couple bad weeks, and it was nice. Went 8-0 in college football, 5-0 in NFL last week, and we'll just keep doing what we always do. Nothing changed. Even when we had the bad week, we do a lot of hard work, trust the process, and hopefully we can keep this rolling this year. I know I'm not going to keep going perfect, but I'm looking to. As John said, if you can hit 65, 70% all year, that'll be really, really nice and really, really put a lot of money in my pocket.
It's great work. Well, last week in week 1 was a very treacherous week. There were a lot of games that swung in the ballots. To be truthful, for the show last week, both of my co-hosts had Washington, and we wanted to, give out 3 unique picks. Unfortunately, Rocky's play was looking really good, and then somebody had to go kick like a 58-yarder with no time on the clock, and Carolina lost to Cleveland. But just so everybody knows, both Buster and Rocky were on the Washington Commanders. I was on the New York Giants, who impressed me. They really did. I thought 13-0. Well, I'm going to have egg on my face on this one, but they fought back, and I loved how Saquon Barkley ran the ball, and he used him in the DFS for DraftKings, and that worked out real well. And he's on my list again this week for DFS action. He just looks like a totally different guy. He reminds me of how he ran when he was at Penn State, and that wasn't too long ago. So I think the Giants are actually heading in the right direction, but we'll find out later this Sunday. I'm going to start things off, guys, with a quick look here. I'm looking at the Rams, Super Bowl champion Rams. Didn't do so well last week. Buffalo was on a mission, obviously, to make a statement to the league that they are the team to beat for the Super Bowl. Whether that happens or not depends on a lot of different things. And we got 16 more games to play before we could even get to that point with any of the teams. Injuries are a big part of the NFL. And the teams that stay the healthiest are usually the ones that make the runs in the playoffs. But I'm looking at the Rams here in a bounce back with their defense against the Atlanta Falcons, who that was a premium pick of mine. The Falcons came through. I thought I was looking real good for the win. And then that was one of the games that kind of, the last quarter there went crazy. But the Falcons covered easily. This is a totally different matchup here. I think the line coming down 3 points to 10.5, definitely you have to take a lean and a pretty strong look at the Rams. But I actually like the under better because NFL coaches, guys, they off of a bad loss, they always seem to go to the defensive side of the equation. And a lot of times that horrid loss was because the defense failed in so many parts of the game. And in the Rams lost last week, you can definitely blame it on the defense not doing well at all. So I think they're going to bounce back with a huge defensive effort. And whether that means they cover the 10.5 points, I don't know. But the under is supported by home teams where the total is 42.5 to 49 points that are coming off a double-digit loss. That's all there is to it. And believe it or not, that has hit 73% over the last 10 seasons on a 45-15-2 record. So I'm going to leave it at that. I'm going to take the under in the Atlanta Falcons-Rams game this week. Now we'll move over to let's move over to Don Buster for his pick. And Don, your game, I apologize. What game were we looking at with you?
We're taking Washington, Detroit over 48.
Yeah. Okay. So I'll just turn it right over to you. I apologize for not remembering that. I guess it must be, how busy we are this time of year. I'll make an excuse like that. But take it away with this game and why you like the over.
Yeah, that's not a problem, John. We all are, like you say, really busy and forgetful of things. I actually made a couple mistakes on our back end at Sportsmemo yesterday, which I haven't done in probably maybe over a year and a half. So anyways, it happens. We're going for the over here. Both these offenses looked pretty good last week. Really good, actually. Mind you, as much as these offenses look good, their defenses were horrific. And you know what? We should expect that too. Detroit ranked 29th last year in total defense. Washington was 22nd. Last week, Detroit gives up 455 yards to Philadelphia. Washington gives up 383 yards to Jacksonville, which I believe that really helps in this game to get this game over. On offense, Washington scored 28 points, Detroit 35 against maybe a Philadelphia defense that people were thinking was going to be pretty good this year. So not to say it's game one, everybody overreacts, but that was very impressive for Detroit to put up that kind of points. And the reason I like this over, I actually took Philadelphia and Detroit over because Detroit tends to play a lot of overs in Detroit. They play better. It's just one of those stats, and I will give out a stat later before I leave this analysis here. In Washington's game too, they got 28 points, but they had 3 turnovers. I mean, who knows what they put up if they don't turn the ball over like that. Carson Wentz, again, I said on here, we actually had Washington as our play last week, and I said that he'd be able to manage a game. He did an okay job in the first half, not so much the second, but then came back to make a couple big plays to win that one. And Washington, I believe, will make a whole bunch of big plays, especially being indoors in Detroit. They had a little bit of rain in Washington last week and still put up those points. They have a very good offense with guys like Gibson and McLaren made that big play last week. Samuel. They, as long as Wentz, and as when you bet an over, even if Wentz throws a pick 6 or something, that's possible. So that's going to help us too. There just seems to be like this is going to be like another game, almost exactly like how the Detroit Philly was. It's going to be going up and down the field, scoring a lot of points. And Detroit should be able to move the ball against Washington, no problem, because that's exactly what Jacksonville did. Jacksonville went up and down the field on. I was shocked to see that, truthfully. But they couldn't score. I think they got stopped twice on 4th down. They missed a field goal. So, I mean, again, both teams just went up and down on each defense. And I see Detroit's defense being pretty similar to Jacksonville. So, again, it looks like both teams will do this, especially indoors at Ford Field. And how about, just want to mention, got to give props to that DeAndre Swift. Wow. 144 yards against a Philadelphia defense that was supposed to be really good. And that's going to help here because Washington does do well in the run defense. They have, in the past, but it's their pass defense that's always let them down. And this will open up a lot of spots, especially if Swift doesn't move the ball, they'll be able to get some open guys in the area. So I really like this over here. The line opened up for a hot minute at 46.5. I mean, literally, it was probably a minute Sunday night. I don't know. And right now, there's a lot of 48s and 48.5 out there. So as I always say, there's going to be new guys watching these videos. Like a lot of guys have watched that are experienced gamblers, are just watching to see some analysis and have a different way of thinking of the game. But there's a lot of new gamblers out there, new people to this gambling business now. And again, I always say shop around. Make sure you shop around for the best number. I know everybody says it, but it's not a problem to send that message out there from time to time. And of course, John, we have our stat for you. Like I always have to have at least one stat, But like I say, Detroit at home, they tend to play a ton of overs. Well, in fact, the last 24 games in Detroit, 17 overs, 7 unders. Let's make it 18 overs, 7 unders. Washington, Detroit over the total.
That was a tremendous breakdown, Buster. You two are some of the best. I could listen to you guys talk for hours and hours. I'm just going to add one nugget that I pulled up on the database while you were talking. And it has to do with the fact that Detroit is 24-9 to the over, following a game in which they lost straight up but covered the spread. And that's exactly what happened last week. They covered the spread as 4.5-point underdogs at home to the Eagles, but they lost the game by 3 points. And I have to agree with you, Buster, that comeback in the second half by the Detroit Lions is something we haven't seen that franchise do in a long time. And I do think that was confidence building, and it should carry over against the Commanders, as you detailed so well. I think I love that pick. Now let's move over to Mr. 70% here, or it might be 71% now, combining last year with his 2-0 last week. I think that's just awesome. I just love saying that number. It's a big difference between hitting 69% even. 70 just has that ring to it. It's just really good.
Yeah, but anyway, John, you know what? We'd all love to hit 69% for the year. That's for sure.
That's true too. Absolutely. Rocky's looking at the Carolina Panthers, who are fresh off that loss that Rocky was on, unfortunately, as I detailed in the beginning of the show. He was nice enough to try a different game. It should have won. It definitely was there, and a field goal late cost them. But they're coming off a 26-24 loss to Cleveland. They didn't cover the spread. The game went over the total by 8 points, which was a 42-point total. Giants were my pick, humbly stated. The first-year coach, those guys did pretty darn well in week 1. They went on the road 21-20. I don't know what Tennessee was trying to do at the end of that game. I feel lucky that the Giants actually did win, but they too came back. They were down 13-0 and were doing their best imitation of the New York Jets. And I didn't really like the play even in game. And you guys know I usually jump on those things, but I didn't like what I was seeing at that current time. But they had 238 rushing yards last week. They did have 2 turnovers, but they only allowed 93 yards rushing to Tennessee. That's pretty darn outstanding when there's a guy named Derrick Henry on that team. So, Rocky, take it away and tell us where to put our money in this matchup.
Thank you, John. Yeah, you said a lot right there that I was going to say.
I didn't mean to steal any thunder.
You're fine. Carolina's 0-1 this year. They're off a loss. A tough loss last week to Cleveland, 26-24. I think it was a 59-yard field goal as time expired to lose that one. The Giants 1-0 on the season. They beat Tennessee 21-20 in Tennessee. Great job by them. But I'm looking here at taking Carolina plus the points in this one. The Giants are 9-22-1 against the spread their last 32 home games. They're 2-6-1 against spread their last 9 games as a home favorite. They're 2-7 against spread last 9 games after ATS win, and 1-4 against spread last 5 games after a straight up win. The Giants are 1-6 against spread last 7 games after accumulating 350 or more total yards in their previous game. They're 0-4 against spread last 4 games against NFC opponents, and they're 1-9 against spread last 10 home games against an opponent off a straight-up favorite loss. Carolina, on the other hand, they're 10-2 against spread last 12 games as less than 500 dogs against non-division opponents. Matt Rule, he is 6-1 against spread last 7 games off a home game against a better than 500 opponent, which right now the Giants are sitting at 1,000, perfect 1-0, 1,000%. The underdog is 5-0 against spread the last 5 meetings in this series. And I do have an angle. I don't have exact numbers from this angle, but it's like 66% long-term. If you play on in the NFL, if you play on a team often against a spread loss against a team often against a spread win, it's like 66% or something long term. It's really, really good. And that's what we have here. You have Carolina off an ATS loss, the Giants off an ATS win. I saw somewhere, and John, after the show, I'm going to get you to look it up, but I saw somewhere week 2 last year playing this angle. It went either 7-0 or 8-0 in week 2 last year against the spread. So very solid angle. First time I gave it out was last year on Manny's Pub Show, John, with you. And everybody, I think everybody really liked it. And it's a moneymaker. So I'm going to recommend a small play on Carolina on Sunday.
Oh, I love it. And I will run that, and I'll put it in the comment section of this live show after we're done. I'll look it up right away. It will only take about 30 seconds to do that. But before I let you guys go, I want to recap our bets. I am betting the under in the Rams versus Falcons game. Buster is on the over in the Detroit Lions Washington Commanders matchup. And Rocky is taking a bounce back. And I think this is a good one with Carolina going on the road to take on the New York Giants, who are off a win that they probably shouldn't have had. So that's a very intriguing play, too. And I like all 3 of them quite a bit. Hopefully we go 3-0. But before I let you guys go, Buster, what is going on with any premium best bets that you have over at sportsmemo.com?
Yeah, well, John, they have a great package that the powers to be brought out for NFL and college football. You get that combined for 30 days for only $199. So as I've always said for a bunch of videos, whether it be hockey, whatever, I'm a very streaky guy. So I'm hoping to keep this streak running for a while. And that's the package you want to grab, or go grab a 7-day, give us a try. But right now that package, $199 is a pretty good deal for every college football play and every NFL play. $199. Go over and see me at sportsmemo.com.
That's awesome stuff. Rocky, what do you got going on at Predictive Playbook and Winning Cappers?
Well, John, I'm still working on my college football card for the weekend. But like you said, I did go 2-0 last week in the NFL, 70% last year with all my NFL picks. I do have my NFL game of the week loaded for Sunday.
Great stuff. I humbly won a 10-unit 5%er max bet on Seattle on Monday. Was pretty happy with that,
right.
Needless to say. And all sports the last 14 months, we're nailing 74% with those top picks. I haven't gotten through the total research, but there is a game in the NFL eyeing up quite large, actually, that I think will qualify as a 5% max bet. Stay tuned for an update on that by Friday at 5 o'clock. I should have it loaded up, and I do believe it will be a top-rated 10-unit bet again. So anyway, thanks for your time as always, Rocky and Buster, and we'll be back again next week. We're actually going to go live a little bit earlier next week, so be sure to check the timeline on Twitter to get that announcement, but we may go as early as even 8:30 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. So until then, there's only 2 things I want you to remember. Of course, 3 actually. Our 3 best bets. Maybe 4. 3 best bets here. Get over to sportsmemo.com, Predictive Playbook, Winning Cappers. Take advantage of our premium work. You'll be glad you did. And then most of all, bet with your heads, not over it, and may all the wins be yours.